Hi, my name is Shannon Berry, and I will be discussing the current rising hate culture in the U.S. James Baldwin once said, "I imagine the reason why people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain." Hate culture is rising, and the accelerant is hate speech. We need to limit hate speech because our failure to legislate it suggests that us as a country condones public expression of hateful views and language. Whether hate speech or hate crimes have directly affected you, it should be in all of our best interests to advocate for a peacefuler country and ensure the well-being and success of future generations. Sadly, I've had close family members harassed or told terrible things because of their color and nationality, so I decided to look into the rising hate culture in the U.S. Today, I will discuss hate culture, hate symbols, and how the U.S. protects hate speech. While the U.S. is perceived to be a progressive liberal union, it is still home to a number of hate groups such as the Ku Klux Klan, neo-Nazis, and the alt-right, and more. Mainly because of recent elections, hate groups are becoming more public with their ideology and politics. In 2008, President Barack Obama was elected as the first African-American U.S. president. This resulted in an increase of cross-burnings, white supremacist members, and overall white supremacist fueled violence. Just as election resurged racial motivated based violence to retaliate against the election of the first black president. In 2016, alternative right leader Richard Spencer endorsed President candidate Donald Trump. The neo-Nazis celebrated Trump's election and said, "Hail Trump, hail our people, and hail victory." This resembles Nazi Germany's Sieg Heil chant. In addition, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, a number of hate groups in the U.S. have reached record high in 2018. The rise in hate groups are alarming and pose as a threat to the well-being and safety of minorities and people of color in the U.S. These hate groups engage in hate speech and hate crimes to further push their agenda for white supremacy and domination. However, what is hate speech? Hate speech is language that is offensive or bigoted in nature, and it is direct towards an individual or a group on the basis of their race, nationality, color, sexual orientation, religion, or gender identity. These hate groups capitalize on hate speech because it is their largest resource to obtaining new members and creating a platform in which they can spread their hateful messages. Moreover, despite our shameful history, we tolerate statues and symbols that have historically held hateful ideology. In the South, there is pride in the Confederate flag and Confederate statues. The Confederate flag is argued to represent Southern heritage and pride. However, the creator of the flag, William T. Thompson, said, "As a people, we are fighting to maintain the heavenly ordained supremacy of white men over the inferior or colored race." The origin story of the Confederate flag is based in white supremacy. In addition, the creation of Confederate statues were not to commemorate fallen soldiers. They were built almost an entire generation after the war, and they were used to intimidate African Americans and remind them that they could not succeed politically and were isolated from the mainstream Southern life. The statues are now a reminder of the state's involvement in the war, which was to prevent the liberation of slaves. There is much controversy in removing Confederate flags and statues, but maybe we should look to Germany when regarding the importance of removing symbols that originally held the intent of promoting racist and bigoted ideology. Consider the German swastika. After the Third Reich was defeated, the swastika was banned nationally due to the connotation it held, white supremacy. It was removed from buildings, from uniforms, from streets, everywhere. In addition, there is no serious German politician that would argue the swastika is crucial to German heritage or pride. Unlike the US, Germany is truly shameful of its past and is actively enacting laws to fight white supremacy. It is imperative that we remove hate symbols in the US because it gives legitimacy to hate groups that engage in hate speech and crimes. But currently, unless hate speech directly incites criminal activity on an individual or a group, the victims of hate speech cannot charge the perpetrator. Not only does this protect hate speech, it also protects hate groups that unify on the sole purpose to promote racist and bigoted messages. Historically, the Supreme Court has protected hate groups from facing legal charges on the basis of the First Amendment. In 1969, the Supreme Court upheld a decision that hate speech could only be charged if it caused imminent danger. This directly allowed hate speech from KKK members to target African Americans. In 1978, court case Collin v. Smith, the Supreme Court sided with Collin, the neo-Nazi party, which allowed them to march through the streets of a Jewish suburb which include Holocaust survivors. In 1992, the Supreme Court appealed a court case that indicted a teenager for burning a cross on the lawn of an African American's family. The decisions from these cases become the guidelines for future cases. That means future cases of hate speech are protected under the government as long as the government fails to create laws that prevents this kind of speech. In contrast, countries like Ireland have passed laws to attenuate hate speech and crimes. In 1989, Ireland passed the Prohibition of Incitement to Hatred Act. This law prohibited speech or actions that are intended to stir up hatred against a particular group on the basis of their race, color, nationality, or religion. The Irish government has created a law that is carefully worded and specific to hate speech. Ireland is still looking for ways to strengthen this law. However, this is one step needed to protect a vulnerable and minority community. In conclusion, hate speech and hate groups have long been tolerated and protected in the U.S., and it is time for the country to unitedly fight together against hate culture and protect the groups that hate groups are targeting. Given the increase of hate groups, in addition to the prominent hate symbols in America, it is crucial that we minimize the prevalence of racism and bigotry by advocating anti-hate laws in the